It's Hall of Fame time. I've got a couple of Hall of Famers with me. Zach, Scotty, Pete. And we did have the Phil Rizzuto meltdown the other day and decided that this is time to vote for ourselves. We're going to take this into our own hands. I love Baseball Hall of Fame talk. I like being an absolute dick about it, if we're being honest. And I would love to back it up with some of my stats, but I literally I can't get onto this laptop. It does absolutely nothing. It's a piece of shit. So we voted. We each got a ballot. And what we're going to do is we're not even necessarily going to go through our ballots first. We're going to go through who has won from the group. So I don't even know.
What do you mean who has won?
Like who got in?
Who got elected?
Oh, okay.
Well, because there's four of us.
This is for, Pete.
There's four of us.
No, I
you
got
need
it.
75% of the vote.
And then we'll cover the
Excuse me.
ballot.
Anyone that
after.
got at least 3 votes.
So
got
this
in.
is real. This is real Hall of Fame standards. So do we then we can find out who just drops off the ballot entirely?
Yeah. I guess the
Which
ones
is
who
gonna
got
be a
no
lot.
votes. Yeah.
All right. Let's see who is in the Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2025. Brought to you by the Cam Show.
Our first member was Carlos Beltran.
Carlos Beltran.
Everybody cool with Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't vote for him, but
I was very close to not voting for Beltran because he didn't lead the league in anything offensively in his whole career.
Well, I'll get into something once.
So I don't love that, but I used a lot. I'm going to bring this up a ton. I use similarity scores on Baseball Reference quite a bit.
Solid. Yeah.
Now, is it a perfect science? No, because it just goes based off stats. Now you're saying, Cam, that sounds like the perfect science, but it doesn't take environments into account, which we'll get into for some other players later. And Carlos Beltran has pretty good comps. His comps throughout his career are Hall of Famers. Guys like Andre Dawson, borderline Hall of Famer, but he got in, and Dave Winfield, who is a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
So he has a lot of that. Good postseason stats. 16 career home runs in the postseason, but exactly half of them came in his first trip to the playoffs. That great run with the Astros in 2004. But still, he plays a tough position, and he was pretty good defensively at it, and he hits the milestones for me. So I do have him as a Hall of Famer. I'm guessing I was not the only one, but that was kind of a tough one.
Well, if it wasn't Pete, then I have an idea of the other two who voted for him. I voted for him, and he was a late addition to the ballot because it was me trying to look at some of the other outfielders that are on the ballot this year. And so I went back and I looked at previous classes and tried to use like, hey, what are the stats that the previous classes have kind of had in this position to kind of find a metric to use. And when I looked through all the other outfielders after Beltran, I kept coming back to none of them are as good as Carlos Beltran's offensive production. Like that's what it kept coming back to. I'm sure defensively you can make some arguments there. And there's another guy we'll get to that had more gold gloves and stuff. And I get that. But just the amount of runs that he was able to score compared to everybody else that was coming out, there was no way I couldn't have him on the list.
So Beltran's in.
Yes.
He played a lot. He played for a long time.
I voted for him, and for me, it's Cam mentioned he didn't ever have the best offensive stats at any one point.
In anything.
We have 41 homers in 20.
There's something about being like an A+ in a league though for a long time. And like he was good for a long time. Like I don't remember how many seasons he played, but he was good for a long time.
He played for 20 years. Almost.
Yeah, and you'd say probably 16 of those he was a great player. Yeah.
All right. So are we ready for number 2 if who got in? As Cam's still
I want to back it up and I can't fucking do anything on this laptop. It's completely shit fried.
Well,
I can't do anything, man.
Nothing like being
all right,
shit fried.
Second.
Dude. I got shit fried a lot back in the day.
Who we got, Zach?
Alex Rodriguez is our second vote in.
All right,
for our
A-Rod.
Hall of Fame class.
It's about time, baby.
Did you vote for A-Rod, Cam?
I did not vote for A-Rod.
So then we found the one guy who didn't. Mine was, and I'll make it really quick. As much as I despise Alex Rodriguez, maybe as a human or things he did, like
Dude, he's not like a murderer.
It's not. No, it's not that. But at the same time, he won the MVP award 3 times, including when he was a member of the worst team in the West.
Right.
Like that says something.
Yeah.
Steroids aside, that is him himself. And his Bill James Hall of Fame score is just mountains ahead of anybody else on this ballot.
I want to hear why Cam didn't vote for him.
You don't get everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
give me a
everything in
break, dude.
Well, Pete
He's
and
got
I,
the records. He's got the MVPs.
Pete and I popped
got all
off
that
yesterday
shit.
about how foolish it might seem to keep some of these guys out for steroids or whatever.
Yeah.
And the reality is, Alex Rodriguez might be one of the 10 best baseball players.
Sure,
ever.
and he
I
can
think-
keep that mantle.
And so put him in the hall, and
can't get
people.
everything.
The other thing about A-Rod that I remember when he came to the Rangers, elite defensive player for a long time.
Yes,
Like,
when
not-
he went to the Yankees, he should have played short, and he didn't just because Jeter was
so much
Jeter.
respect for Jeter.
Yeah. Right, Cam?
He's a better shortstop than Jeter. Absolutely, better player than Jeter.
Yeah.
All right, who we got next?
But doesn't get your vote, Cam.
Nope.
Yeah. Our
Well,
third,
that wasn't a good description. Go ahead.
our next member to get into our 2025 Hall of Fame
Explanation.
class,
Yeah.
Manny Ramirez.
Can't keep
2004.
Manny.
Cam
World
did
Series
not
MVP?
vote for Manny either. I can just tell by the look on his face.
I did not vote for Manny.
Yeah.
Did not vote for Manny.
Well,
I
why
want to hear.
not?
I want to hear that. You being the Red Sox
I
guy.
feel like though this
Same,
is
same reason I didn't vote for him.
yeah, this is
Why?
the argument of the
So it's steroids.
yeah. I think you made it on Monday when we talked about it.
You
Of,
don't get everything.
yeah, you don't
And
get
he
everything.
wasn't a good husband.
Well, fair enough.
Beat his wife.
He
I
did.
don't like that. Yeah, but that's not why I didn't vote for him. Yeah, I just
Lifetime
left out the steroid
312
guys.
hitter. Lifetime
yep, great player. 500 homers, World Series MVP.
You know what's funny?
Batted seventh in some
12-time
of those Indians
All-Star?
lines up.
Get the fuck out of here with all this
He,
steroids.
look, he's in. He's
Well,
in.
But that's the thing is the three guys we voted in so far are the three steroids name. Well,
Yeah,
not necessarily
Beltran,
Manny.
It didn't help
Beltran
very
hit
much.
200. He had 41 homers in 2006. Sorry, he was juiced up because you compare it to every other year he had, and he's got like 15.
But it's not
Okay,
like
then
it's not
Beltran
Brady
juiced up.
Anderson level.
Beltran
huh?
had 48 in 04.
Huh?
Beltran had 48 in 04. Was he juiced up?
I mean, probably.
No.
We don't know for sure.
I said Griffey was juiced up, and everyone fucking jumped all over me.
I don't know about that.
Exactly. You'd
Yeah.
vote for him anyway. What do you give a shit?
That's true. He
You
was
care.
injured far too often in Cincinnati.
I'm trying to
He
retain.
was
the
injured
integrity.
far too often in Cincinnati. All right.
Nomar on the juice too.
So
If we want to even this out.
this is going to be a small class because here's our last member that we voted into the Hall of
Really?
Fame. Yes. And that would be Ichiro, who I almost left
Yeah.
out after looking at Beltran's numbers.
Was this unanimous?
This was unanimous.
Ichiro is our
This is the
is
only
our
guy on the
unanimous
ballot I
vote.
did not look at the stats for. Well, I did. I knew I wasn't voting for Manny and A-Rod, so I didn't look at theirs. But
So
easy, man.
yeah, I think he's going to be one of the ones that gets in first ballot. We also have a breakdown here, if I can read to you real quick.
Please,
Nice
because I
job.
cannot read it.
Yeah, no, Scotty killed it with all these graphics.
Scotty,
man.
amazing work.
Receiving no votes is the majority of the ballot, but we'll focus on the ones receiving one vote: Andrew Jones, Chase Utley, and Francisco Rodriguez.
Sorry, that was one vote you said.
All of these guys received one vote:
Who was it? Sorry.
Andrew Jones,
Andrew Jones.
Chase Utley, Francisco Rodriguez.
Okay.
I didn't vote for any of them.
Neither did I.
Jones and K-Rod were on my ballot.
Chase Utley on yours, Pete?
Yeah.
Okay.
Philly.
Can I ask you who in their right mind would vote for Bobby Abreu?
Hey, he won
One
a
of
home
us-
run derby.
One of us here did.
No, nobody voted for
No,
Bobby.
nobody
Abreu.
voted
No.
for Bobby Abreu.
I thought you. I
I
was
voted
thinking
for
we're still at
Beltran.
the
Yeah,
one.
no.
Like he was a
Bobby,
Philly.
if you look at the advanced stats, like if you're a stat nerd, he has a decent case.
Huh.
It's probably still not good enough, but like he was just an underrated player. for
Dude,
a
he
long
was with the
time.
Phillies for a while.
Yeah.
Good hitter.
And I don't like there was nothing about Bobby Abreu that got me super charged up. He was always the guy that had a ton of potential and never really met it. you
20
know?
years ago, he wouldn't even be on the ballot.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's-
facts.
The guys that did get multiple votes, or 2 votes, Felix Hernandez, Andy Pettit, Jimmy Rollins, CC Sabathia, which is a travesty he didn't get a third one, and Billy Wagner.
Yeah, I was most shocked that only 2 of us voted for CC. I want to hear the people who did not vote for CC.
I would
tell
like
me
to hear
why.
that.
I
Pete, you
don't
want to
know.
go first?
You go first.
Yeah, hit me with this.
CC kind of his Hall of Fame ballot is a lot on counting stats, which is fine, but I get tickled. I get my balls tickled in Hall of Fame voting
Mhm.
by top 10 MVP finishes, top 10 Cy Young finishes, and what you led the league in and what your peak was like.
Mhm.
And you look at CC's peak, it's pretty darn good. And if I thought about it for a couple more days, maybe I vote him in. But I just didn't think like the last 7 years of his career did nothing for me. He won a Cy Young award that he should not have won. That should have been Josh Beckett's Cy Young award.
Okay.
And he doesn't do it for me in those prime years. He doesn't lead the league. He leads the league in games started. What does that do for me? He's not leading the league in anything like ERA or FIP or strikeouts to walks. He played for some damn good teams, which is great and everything, but his similarity scores too, they don't jump off the page. He's linked to Hall of Famers after their prime. So he's got some Tom Glavine in there. I think he's got 1 year of Greg Maddux in there, but it's like mid to late 30s. They're not these guys in their prime. His prime years are comparable to Dave McNally, who was a good pitcher in the 70s, but is not a Hall of Famer.
I would argue that his first 7 years in Cleveland are the same as the 7 years he spent in New York, and I have the facts to prove it out. Record-wise,
please.
His record in Cleveland.
I would love to pull up some stats.
Yeah, that's fine. His record in Cleveland from ages 20 to 27, 106 and 71. His record with the Yankees from ages 28 to 35, 106 and 68. Same amount of wins in both those straight.
Well, that's what Cam was saying a little bit, and that's kind of my case. Is like the end of his career was sort of like he took a nosedive. It was kind of hapless.
Well, his ERA was better in New York.
And like wins are great. Okay. Wins need to be taken into account here. It's the same way batting average still needs to be taken into account. But it is not the end all be all. And so when I'm putting him next to Felix Hernandez and how dominant King Felix was in a terrible run support environment. Bottom, yes, but he had a better peak. And I think a better career. With a run scoring environment
in
that
Milwaukee
he was in.
Might be the greatest peak of a pitcher.
It was half a fucking season.
And it was incredible for that.
So you're gonna give it to fucking David Price?
No,
that half a season in Toronto.
CC Sabathia did way more than David Price
they did the same shit.
No, they didn't.
They did the same shit. They got their teams to the playoffs. That was it.
Oh man, we've lost that.
Look, CC had that was a great run, but it's half a season. I'm not judging a Hall of Fame off half a season.
Consistency.
I just in those 17 games. By the way, 3 shutouts, 7 complete games, 11 wins, a scoreless decision away from a no.
How'd he do in the playoffs?
He took the Brewers to the playoffs for the first time in the fucking generation. There was nobody. They did, but there was nobody else on that team. What is Tony Gwynn Jr. going to help CC Sabathia win something? No.
Ryan Braun,
my goodness. I said this about Beltran. Consistency and being great over a long period of time gets you very far with me. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that can be a flash in the pan. CC was a top 5 to 8 pitcher for 12 years.
No.
I mean, yes, he was
a top 5 pitcher for 12 years.
He had shoulder injuries and ended up switching to a cutter and prolonging his career that way. He's a smart baseball player.
He is a very good baseball player.
No.
That is not the argument here. He's not a top 5 pitcher for a decade. I mean,
here's the other take. If you don't like the fact that he compiled stats, accumulated stats, is what I said about the steroid guys the other day. If you can't tell the story of an era without the person, you need to consider putting them in. I do not think you can tell the story of baseball over the last 20 years without CC Sabathia.
He had more strikeouts per game.
And honestly, I voted for Felix Hernandez. I think you can probably tell the story without him too. These guys, they're not Kershaw, they're not Verlander. Like those are the guys that I talk about for a generation.
Well, I mean, CC Sabathia was part of the 3,000 strikeout club before Verlander got there. Well, granted, they played long, but I'm saying it's him and Scherzer.
Sabathia got like a 5-year head start.
Well, but still, he started before. But I'm saying like the only 2 3,000 strikeout club members since CC are Verlander and Scherzer.
Yes, they both have other great stats.
And he's the third most. He has the third most strikeouts amongst lefties, only behind Steve Carlton and Randy Johnson.
But he's not those guys.
But there's guys below him that you'd probably put in, and he's better than those guys.
I don't know. Like Tom Glavine won 300 games.
He had more. He had more strikeouts per game as a Yankee. He had less walks. Like he's a guy who almost won Rookie of the Year in Cleveland, losing only to Ichiro, who still got better later in his career.
See, I don't. Is that a Hall of Fame argument that he almost won Rookie of the Year and got better after his rookie season?
No, my point is he completed on an all-star level and still did later on. Like it never ended.
I just don't think he has a Hall of Fame resume.
That's
man.
fine.
The comps that he's got as Hall of Famers, I think the only one was Mike Mussina, who I have noted on the show I don't think is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
he's in, but I think it's a weak one.
That Brewer season, CC led both leagues in complete games thrown that year too.
That was awesome. That was the thing that he led the league in complete games.
But for both the American League and National League.
Who else do we need to sort out
Yeah.
before we get out of here.
Let me pull it back.
You guys,
up.
nobody voted for Jimmy Rollins?
No, Rollins got 2 votes.
Okay.
I would like out of the Phillies guys, I like Rollins more than Utley, and I
Great
just think
defensive
yes.
player.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. Won an MVP, won a World Series. He had a terrific career.
I put in Billy Wagner just because when we're at a position with closer, like I voted him in, but it's like the guys that are better than him are already in. And so it's like if you want to keep getting like closers in, you're going to have to look at a guy like Billy Wagner or wait until another phenomenal closer comes back around like a Mariano or somebody for you put that back.
I put in Billy Wagner as well. Because I looked, this was like almost 1,000% a similarity score vote. But kind of the same reason is it's like, if we're going to put Lee Smith in, then Billy Wagner needs to be in. And you look at all the comps that he's got, and they're mostly current guys or just retired guys, but it's like Kenley Jansen, Craig Kimbrell, Josh Hader. Like the first 2 guys, they're Hall of Famers. Kimbrell and Kenley Jansen, if we're putting closers in consistently, those guys are Hall of Famers. So I put Billy Wagner in.
I'm with that too. Who voted for Pettit? I know I didn't.
I did.
Okay.
We did.
The Pettit fan club over there. I get
carried by good teams. Good pitcher. Very good pitcher.
Solid.
Not a Hall of Famer.
CC Sabathia is better.
Didn't lead the league in anything. CC Sabathia, I think, is better. I think he is better than Andy Pettit. There we go. Common ground.
He's a great guy, Andy Pettit. I got to interview him.
Yeah,
once.
great guy. He's
Was
the only
he-
one who can admit to
was he still in the league?
performance-enhancing drugs, and everyone's just like,
No,
yeah,
it was,
okay,
it was
he's
like
nice.
his son was pitching
I don't vote for
for
steroid
a
guys.
smaller school in Texas, and
Oh.
I did a Baylor game when he played last year, so he came up in the booth.
Oh, that's nice.
Sam Houston.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, he was awesome. He was like really awesome. He was Pat Combs' buddy.
Yeah, I don't vote for steroid guys.
Fair
Why
enough.
not? I mean,
At least you stuck to that.
Get voted.
were you the person who commented on that short that Scotty and I put up? You don't know what you're talking about. Was that you?
Wait, what?
I wish. I will now.
I didn't see that comment, but I already love it.
Oh man.
All
No,
right,
it was,
that's
you
our Hall
don't
of
know
Fame
how
class.
wrong you are.
Listen,
That's what it was.
So their last one picture, there's our Hall of Fame class for the 2025 season.
I only voted
Biggest
for half of
boobs
them.
in that picture.
Beltran is sneaky.
Manny?
Honestly.
Manny, no
I think
question.
it's Manny.
No.
Yeah, it's Manny.
Hey, Rod's getting kind of wider.
Dude, A-Rod
Not
is
in those
such a
pictures.
piece of work. I
A-Rod's probably in shape,
need him
though.
to get into the Hall of Fame so he can just like have like an A-Rod thing. He's such a piece of
Do you
work.
think Jeter would be kind of frustrated seeing A-Rod there in the hall? I don't know how the two of those.
Jeter would have to be up there too.
Hey,
Yeah.
I
They
don't
do
think-
some photo ops.
I mean, they seem to carry themselves. Just
Well,
fine.
I was gonna say,
they
I don't
work, they work
They've
together
never
a
shown
lot.
a lot
That's
of
true on
animosity
Fox,
towards each
yeah.
other. Yeah.
No,
I think it's something that maybe might be in the past though.
I'm going
really-
to tell you, who
yeah.
would get, the guys that would get pissed if A-Rod gets in are the guys that have already gotten gypped and are
Like
no
Gary
longer
Sheffield.
like. Well, Gary Sheffield,
Who
but
just fell off the ballot.
I was going
Yeah.
to say they're steroid guys, like Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire. Like if I'm one of them, I'd be pissed if A-Rod gets in.
Well, there's going to be some guy that's going to be the tip of the iceberg that starts them allowing everybody else in, right? Is it going to be a guy?
But
like
then
A-Rod?
do you go backwards and like
I feel like they. Well,
you kind of have to. I mean,
and then it'll be the Veterans Committee all over again,
but
adding
this
guys
is why
in later.
this is why Rogue puts A-Rod in the Hall of Fame. I don't think there's any shot he actually gets in.
Well, I mean, you talk about guys like
Surprised no
A-Rod,
one really put up a case
A-Rod,
for
Bonds,
Jeter.
McGuire,
I
Clemens. I mean, they all get in without the steroid use. That's my thing for
Do
them.
they? Like,
Yes.
how do we know? though,
McGuire?
Pete? How do we
Dude,
know?
There's no I mean, McGuire was head and shoulders.
Clemens started using him in Toronto. At that point, he had 191 career
Dude,
wins. Is he in the Hall of
Clemens,
Fame?
bro, Clemens was out of his mind early
I
in his
know,
career
but
in
it's for
Boston
12
and throughout his whole
years.
career. Dude, he's not just going to.
And then he
what
gets
does
a
that mean? He
second
doesn't
life
show
on
up to
his
the
career.
ballpark if he doesn't take steroids? Give me a fucking break. There's no way. And Barry Bonds was
Barry
one of the
Bonds
most
gets like a whole
dynamic
second
players
life.
in the league.
Barry Bonds was good without.
I'll agree with
I would think Rodriguez was a great player
Yes. This is not even an
But that's
argument.
not. But that's not the argument. Is there a great player without? Are they a Hall of Famer?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, they
But
are.
we don't know. Like we
Yes,
don't
we-
know what their fucking back half of their career would
what it
look
is,
like.
it's everybody's got to bug up their ass.
I
and
think
it's a
Bonds is
black-
probably the greatest hitter ever, but we don't know what the back half of his career looks like without the steroids. We don't.
Come on, man. What do you think? He's just going to shrivel up? Like,
I mean, yeah, that happens to guys.
His head got bigger.
No.
Albert Pujols, like it happens.
He still got. Did he get up
This-
to
this-
700?
this is a whole nother
He had a good
segment.
last year.
This is a whole nother segment. But if you, I believe, like if you took the careers, right? The windows before, like, you could look and say, okay, here was the steroid like watermark where these guys went ahead and started to juice. I believe the guys I mentioned would still have a Hall of Fame career prior to them taking steroids. I mean, McGuire, dude, like, I was a little fucking kid. Like, McGuire, he had a home run.
Everything.
He had a home run every time you turned around in his first like 4 years with the A's. Like, he was a fucking scary guy.
It's not the argument, though.
We are Rogue Media Sports.